in the summer I made a video that was basically on the same topic of this. I literally called it the new Iron Curtains, which was, it was on the same worry, but my take was on it was that it would actually lead to China already has its own firewall, but then expanding this firewall. Actually, 2 days ago, they signed a contract with Iran, a 25-year contract, which includes creating a great firewall for Iran. And each citizen, based on their career, their age, and their political and religious stance, gets access to certain websites. So no one has access to Google. You have to get a pass, basically, based on your ID. Anyway, I saw it as the West going its own way, having its own sphere of internet and sphere of influence over the technology world, and then the East having its own, or I guess the China-driven East. But
no, I mean, I don't think that that's necessarily wrong. And so certainly the means of controls are going to look different in different places, right? I mean, certainly in Europe, the move towards control, for instance, controlling information, social media, comes through from the fact that the industry itself recognizes that unless they act and unless they kind of self-control, then they will be subject to additional scrutiny and so on. But I do think that there might be a mental leap from at some point from if the state, if the role of the state is protect us from harm, right? That leap can actually take a leap that also goes online. And I think I don't think you're going to see a Chinese model in sort of online in Europe or the US. I don't think you're going to see that, but you're going to see some other form of protection and regulation of what's happening online. My point is that there's going to be a fight over who owns what, because I mean, even today, so if you look at Chinese, so if you look at foreign investment in Germany, for instance, over the last 10 years, something like 35% of all of the foreign investment in Germany has come from China. When you look at how that investment is spread, right, by different types of assets, then you look at technology, so high-tech companies with IP, so university spin-outs and things like that, and then you look at infrastructure. China has over half of all the foreign investment in German infrastructure and sort of high-tech sector, right? So, and it's very similar to the UK, and regulating this has been the topic of discussion for many governments in the EU, particularly during Trump's administration, because it was the first administration that actually started pushing its European allies to stop the flow of Chinese money from buying European companies. Again, the strategy that China has had would be you see a spin out from University of Oxford. The company cost £2 million pounds. It comes with IP. A Chinese company buys that. Now, because it's only £2 million, it does not count as a large transaction, so it goes under the radar of what used to be the legislation that would allow the state to control or to monitor or to stop such takeovers. And then what do they do? Well, they take the IP, so they copy it and put it in the ecosystem in wherever the organization is in China. And they also keep the European company, and they self-serve. They grow it. They self-services, and they integrate that technology into some other technology that someone will be using in Europe. I think there is growing acceptance that this is a problem, and and there's a more willingness by European governments to try to stop this. But we are also at a stage where I mean, China has superior capabilities when it comes to implementing all the use cases for AI, for instance, right? So if you want to create effective systems for instance, mass education that's fully sort of automated and AI driven. I mean, there's nothing in Europe that can, in any way, compete with the China's experiment, which I think has introduced fully AI sort of sort of 100% AI tuition to something like 2,000 schools or around that number. At least that was last year. Um, so I think, you know, we are so far behind the willingness to implement this technology as well, right? That it's going to create issues probably in 5 years time.